Thank you very much, Susanna, for this very humbling introduction. Um, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and maybe even good evening to some of you who are with us today. It is truly a pleasure and an honor for me to provide this keynote speech and this welcome address for day 2 of the 2021 IC conference. I want to start my remarks, first of all, of course, by acknowledging the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Abdul Hussein Mirza, President of the SEA. Truly, and I can be, I'm a direct witness of this after 4 years of working together. He's a relentless and genuine promoter of energy sustainability in Bahrain and beyond. Without him and his leadership, this conference and a lot more could not be possible in the field of sustainable energy in Bahrain. I also need to thank the SEA team, of course, the Bahrain Society of Engineers, all the sponsors for this event, and the several organizing teams, the technical team that made this complex and great event possible. And under these conditions that we all wish were different, but since we are facing these constraints, we were able to truly pull it off in a very creative and plan B type of way, but truly commendable. I followed the whole day yesterday, and it was a remarkable event with relatively low level of glitches that we often see in these events. So it's really, truly a great achievement. And for UNDP that I represent in Bahrain, it is an honor to continue our partnership with the SEA and with the Bahrain Society of Engineers in this series of events. I remember the 2019 one that we like to promote globally through, as UNDP, we have a network of 170 offices around the world, and all our UN partners in Bahrain and outside Bahrain. So for us, it gives us a lot of pride to be part of this. My presentation today will highlight many of the topics that emerged yesterday, starting from, of course, Dr. Mirza's keynote intervention, and hopefully I will try to dovetail them into today's program. The intervention so far, and again, I was following all day yesterday, are truly a testimony, I think, of the amount of knowledge, of expertise, opportunity also, and also the enthusiasm. I liked really a lot to feel the enthusiasm of some of the speakers and the participants in the field of sustainable energy. Now, I want to make it clear from upfront that I'm not a solar energy engineer. I'm not a decision maker within a government in this field, or a CEO of a large company that benefits, produces, or uses renewable energy. But in my functions as UN civil servants, I'm really a development practitioner. I head the national office of a UN agency in Bahrain. That's my role. And as such, and like many others who only work laterally in the field of energy sustainability, I have an obligation to understand and to be literate on sustainable energy. Because sustainable energy is, and will be in the future more and more, at the core of sustainable development in every country, not only in Bahrain. In fact, one thing that I wanted to stress up front, and something that really inspired me yesterday, was a question by a student asking, okay, what do we need to do? This is very interesting because this is a little bit less of a supply side focus on sustainable energy. We heard a lot on that yesterday, and more the demand side. We need to work on the demand as well at the base level, the citizen, the consumer, the student. These concepts of sustainable energy, they should be taught in every school. Everybody should acquire that knowledge, even if at a basic level, to be part of the transition that Dr. Mirza talked about so eloquently yesterday, towards a planet that is powered by renewable energy and with hopefully net zero emissions growth very soon. And that is to the advantages of companies, people, and countries alike. So I will start my presentation providing perhaps a wider lens on the importance of renewable energy for sustainable development and green recovery that most countries globally are going through. And after that, I will try to provide a regional perspective and also show Bahrain's progress in its renewable energy path. And I will close with some considerations on why now is truly a unique opportunity for sustainable energy to be incorporated in the process of green recovery and for a stronger development model for the future to build back better. So what I want to do at first is I will share my screen, the usual process that we have seen so much also yesterday. And assuming that my screen is duly shared, I will proceed with sharing very quickly a quote from the administrator of UNDP, Achim Steiner, very recently. He gave it during the high-level dialogue on energy. He said, "We urgently need to scale up investment and financing to drive forward access to sustainable energy for all. This is a key element of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. With the cost of renewables coming down dramatically, it makes sense economically for national and local governments, businesses, and others to invest now in smart technologies, helping to create new green jobs and supporting a sustainable recovery." So essentially what he's talking about is something that we mentioned a lot yesterday that I want to reiterate in a broader lens, with a broader lens, a wider lens on the importance of sustainable energy, because sustainable energy, if it's this green icon, it's the best that I could find to represent it. It has a direct positive impact on all the sustainable development goals, all dimensions of development, and vice versa. But it also has a positive impact on companies' bottom line and on countries' growth if we do it right. So there's a virtuous cycle on this that we need to acknowledge. Why am I talking to you about this from UNDP? Because UNDP has at the core of its mandate sustainable energy, and we have a strategy on that. And we address it from both the goal 7, SDG 7 point of view, as in the first bullet. Also, we focus on sustainable cities, transport initiative that have integrated energy, mobility, land use, and waste management. And in this, we work with many other agencies that also cover these topics, UN agencies. And also we look at the efforts for countries to make progress against each SDGs while contributing to goal 13 on climate action. And sustainable energy is at the core of that. So here in UNDP, as it was mentioned yesterday by Dr. Mirza, since 2014, we partnered with the government of Bahrain, and we created what was called the Sustainable Energy Unit at the time, which evolved into a support structure initially to IWA, to IWA as an organization, Electricity and Water Authority, in 2019 to what became in October 2019 the Sustainable Energy Authority, and we're extremely proud of that journey that we took and that we continue to maintain. Now, more broadly, very general, what are the benefits of sustainable energy in a green recovery? A green recovery, meaning like an exit from the current slump, recession that exists basically virtually in every country in the world with a few exceptions. Why do we want to exit the current recession through a sustainable energy powered recovery? Number one, because we know that through this kind of path, chances are that we are improving the standards of living of many. We're creating new livelihoods and new opportunities, and we want to do it in the broadest sense possible. Secondly, we want to make sure that we're addressing climate change and other nature-linked challenges through a green recovery. And third, we help to maintain the focus on sustainability that has to truly be at the center of recovery and of growth, not just as a byproduct or as indirect effect. But what do we need to maximize the role of sustainable energy in a green recovery? These are just 5 quick points. One is we need sustainable energy market intelligence. We need to have analysis, ability to analyze systems and transformation of some sectors. And we need full information and possibility to have the analytical information on these sectors. We also need evidence-based offers, resource and risk assessments. We need to start from there, and needs assessment. We need to carry out the feasibility studies, cost benefit analysis, and so forth, which for instance in Bahrain have been and are being done, and that's of the essence. The first 2 points are interlinked. The third is we need to engage stakeholders and partners. It cannot be one entity or one individual within the government, for instance, pushing for this, but it needs to be broader within the government and across the private sector. We need financial products and fiscal policy supports. Nothing of this can be done without the proper supports, the proper resources. And we heard yesterday very good presentation on that yesterday in the afternoon. And we also need agile analytics. We need feedback loops. We need to learn by doing and see how the progress is having an impact on broader sustainability. What are the opportunities and the challenges for the role of sustainable energy in green recovery? Well, this is a quick list. It's not comprehensive. When I was consulting my colleagues in our regional hub in Amman, they have a lot of expertise on renewable energy, and we reviewed many of these and many other of the slides that I will be showing. So I want to thank them for providing me with this information. We need strong political will, number one, and the targets have to be ambitious. And this is exactly what happened in Bahrain. We need emerging technologies and business models such as green hydrogen, e-mobility, and digitalization, all integrated into energy systems, current and future. We need well-trained human resources. This was mentioned yesterday in the afternoon also on the advantage that we have in the region and in Bahrain of well-trained human resources, and this is an ongoing process. We gain a lot from favorable meteorological conditions in the region, particularly in the GCC, particularly in Bahrain. We have, in some cases, ideal conditions. You will see behind my back the wind atlas map of Bahrain that we developed with the Sustainable Energy Authority, which is a great achievement to try to understand how to better enjoy what potential there is for wind energy production technologies in which parts of the country. But there's a lot of that opportunity in Bahrain and in the GCC. And also we need a financial system and capacity that can support this transformation. And all of this is present in the Arab region. These are opportunities. Now, there are also challenges, of course. We have systems of growth and growth models that are very high energy intensive. Also, in some of the countries in the region, there's very high youth unemployment, which generates problems of an absorptive capacity of the current economy, and it creates attrition for these reforms. We have low economic diversification, generally focused on few staples for production and exports. We have vulnerability to climate change and biodiversity loss, of course, which again also could create attrition for this transformation, but also sometimes an opportunity to go for it. And finally, volatility of international energy markets, yes, that exists, and that also creates some sense of caution and of resistance to change and to invest in something new. All of this applies generally to the Arab region and specifically to some countries more than others. I want now to dwell into the sustainable energy powered green recovery and think with you on what are the foundational pillars of this type of green recovery that are extremely present and visible in Bahrain. I want to use the example of Bahrain for this sustainable energy powered green recovery. And look at what happened in Bahrain. As you all know, I want to review it quickly. We have essentially three broad pillars that already exist. We have an ambitious national set of action plans in the field. We have one of the most successful energy subsidy reforms that exists, which is extremely important for the transition into a renewable energy-based system, national system, and we have a dedicated energy institution, which in itself is a huge message out, but it is also instrumental. Let's look at these very quickly in one by one. Yesterday we heard about the two national action plan, the National Renewable Energy Action Plan and the National Energy Efficiency Action Plan. They're both there. They're available for you to review, and they're in full steam implementation in Bahrain. These are the targets. We heard them yesterday very clearly from Dr. Mirza and others. And this is absolutely the key, one of the key foundations for the shift to renewable energy-based recovery or sustainable energy-based recovery. The second is the subsidy reform. This is often overlooked. This is absolutely central, is a catalyst to green recovery. We have balanced social safety nets in Bahrain that produce, of course, a very good starting point, and an equitable and social and economic benefit sharing system with nationals and also with the residents, and also actions have been taken to ensure that everybody is included in this reform. And look at these three boxes that show proof what I just said. There's progressivity in targeting higher income bracket energy products. There's differential price increases in gasoline. For instance, high octane petrol was increased by considerably more than low octane petrol. And we know that the high octane petrol is addressing a higher bracket market. And finally, we expect replacement of these subsidies with cash transfers, which take into account the progressive nature that is necessary in this transition, so the lower income bracket are not negatively affected. On pillar two, always on these energy subsidies, we see in the region an unprecedented wave of energy subsidies, and Bahrain in the green circle is one of them. It was 11 countries a couple of years ago, and now it's even more. So that's another point to look at. And also we have a dedicated sustainable energy institution. I don't need to tell you very much about this. We all know it. It's here with us. It helped us to make this event possible. But what I do want to focus is on the bottom bullet on the left, which is what also Dr. Mirza said. This is not alone an achievement of one institution. Any achievement that Bahrain obtains and any other country in terms of its renewable energy targets, it's about a group, a team effort, a national effort. And so the interministerial coordination chaired by the SEA is an absolutely essential mechanism. We are blessed to be able to be part of that mechanism as UNDP, and we see it as an amazing element. Very quickly, the trajectory of operational renewable energy projects in the Arab region, we see this evolution between 2008 to 2018. We went from 0.5 gigawatts to 7.2 gigawatts in all 22 Arab countries. This speaks loud and clear on the transformation that is real and that exists in the region in terms of the investments. And we heard some of this yesterday. So I look less into this. This is my last slide. I want to just share with you some current developments that exist that can increase momentum for the role of sustainable energy in green recovery. First of all, the rollout of COVID-19 economic impact recovery responses. These responses to COVID-19 represent an opportunity, an opening to incorporate renewable energy elements, and we are seeing it in many countries. Second, we have in September 2021, we look forward to having the high-level Energy Dialogue to be held in New York. And this is an opportunity to renew commitments to sustainable energy. And I'm sure Bahrain is going to have a very important role in that, in renewing its commitments, perhaps even increasing their ambition. The third point is that we have an Arab sustainable energy strategy endorsed by the League of Arab States that is in implementation, and it should be observed and strengthened. Fourth point is that there are current actions to transition from fossil fuels to clean technologies. Positive growth of renewable energy investment exists despite the crisis and the emerging, despite the crisis that exists. So we have an opportunity, despite the crisis, to see, and we're observing it in the market, the growth of investments in renewable energy. We have to ride that wave. Last but not least, it was projected that clean energy transition could support the development of up to 4 million jobs. So 1.5 in renewables, 2.5 in energy efficiency. So just imagine the impact that this can have at the regional level in terms of supporting the transformation, the exit and the recovery from the current recession, and the transformation that this can have supporting growth, but also the shift to clean energy. This is from the ARENA 2020 outlook. So these are the opportunities that we have at hand. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to be able to have been able to share them with you. I tried to comply with the time allocated. I used 20 minutes. Thank you very much. I want to pass it over to our Master of Ceremonies so that the conference can take place. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettinato, for an enthralling and thought-provoking presentation on the importance of renewable energy and green recovery in sustainability, with a special emphasis on the Arab region. Thank you for inspiring us to create awareness, advocate for, and embrace sustainability for a brighter tomorrow. Thank you, Mr.